Hello, this is Gabe and Sharon with the Human Frequency, and we're finally back with an update. It's been a pretty rough start to 2018, and we haven't been able to do as many of these episodes as we'd like, and I know you guys have been waiting since the forbidden words. There's got to be more to talk about than words we can't say, right? I've been working on the blog, though, so anybody who's been keeping up with the Tumblr blog could see where we've been and where we've been gifting. So I've been making the utmost effort to keep the blog up to date. We're back with another episode, and we're going to try to do more of these because there's so much to talk about. And we just got back from the Conscious Life Expo. We were kindly sent there by the New Agora magazine, and that's a magazine out of Canada that I've been writing for, and that's newagora.ca. It's a very cool magazine. They've got lots of articles on permaculture, tons of articles on marijuana. If you're into that, you'll get a lot of information. And
if you're not into that, you'll see them anyway.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff about health in general, problems with vaccines and various environmental toxins and how to overcome a lot of these problems. And I like the magazine because they're very solution-based, and they print my articles on orgone energy, and that is very uncommon. So check out the New Agora. It's newagora.ca, and I've got an article coming up in February I think you'll enjoy, which is all about busting the chemtrail myths. There is a ton of disinfo out right now on geoengineering, a lot of fear-based information that's not really information that's accurate at all, and no mention of orgone and the energetic properties of the atmosphere that we need to understand in order to combat geoengineering. So this article is very in-depth, it's very long, and I think very interesting because I list out the top chemtrail myths and debunk them. But I don't debunk chemtrails because we know there's an issue up there.
That's New Agora, N as in Nancy, EWAGORA.ca.
So yeah, check that out, and you can look at it online. You could also subscribe to it. New Agora sent us to Conscious Life, which was nice. We didn't have to pay for a pass, which is good because there are a lot of problems at Conscious Life that make it really not worth paying for, in my opinion. In fact, I love writing, and one of my hobbies is writing for Yelp, writing Yelp reviews. And I did one for Conscious Life Expo last year. Boy, did that upset one of the organizers who handles the vendor area. But if you want a good laugh, check out Sharon Hecubus. That's Hecubus, as in manservant Hecubus, from Kids in the Hall. Hebu, my spelling. Hecubu, Hecubus, S.
Yeah, it's obviously not a 5-star review.
It's a 2-star review. This year,
and I think you were very generous to give it 2 stars.
This year it's like a 1, and it was pretty brutal. Anyway, the workshops, everybody's hawking their products, hawking their services. What about just giving out some good information?
Well, the thing is, we couldn't even stay in most of these rooms because there's so many people, and each one of them has a cell phone. And if you know anything about orgonomy and the OR versus DOR battle, when you have that many EMF emitting devices in such close quarters like that, it's gonna be suffocating. And you can feel it, especially in the temperature. Every room we went in was at least 80 degrees, and it's just stiflingly hot in there. And they have the air conditioning on, we think, in the hotel, but it just, against such an emission of deadly orgone, and I really don't like that term, but that's
deadly radiation.
Yeah,
EMF.
With so much of that being emitted, it overpowers any air conditioning, and as a result, you can't stay in these rooms listening to these people. And yeah, you're right, Sharon. They are hawking their products like first thing.
Before they even start the lecture sometimes. I can't believe it.
Like, come on, have some tact, guy.
They don't have any tact.
Or girl.
There are a lot of con artists there, too. A lot of people that can claim to heal you through an iPhone, which absolutely is impossible because an iPhone is an instrument of death. It drives me crazy.
Well, it's an instrument that is specifically designed to suppress your consciousness. So how can something like that facilitate your consciousness? It's not possible.
Well, a lot of people are doing healings now via Skype through iPhones, and I no longer can endorse any of these healings and clearings that are done through these devices that are designed to harm and suppress your third eye, which they really do. It's getting worse and worse, and people are not mentioning anything about the cell phone problem. They're not mentioning anything about orgone energy. In fact, they'll skirt the issue in any way possible. They'll talk about all these other nuances and ways of getting around orgone and never really mentioning this OR versus DOR battle, which has been at the core of human existence since the beginning of time.
Well, I think this ties back into our episode that we did a number of months ago called The Pharmaceutical Industry of Consciousness. And that's exactly what it is, because if they give people answers and they improve their lives, they're not going to come back.
That's true.
But they need to have people coming back over and over and over again, doling out small little kernels of truth and obscuring the main things. Mm-hmm. And that just keeps people coming back. Mm-hmm. It's a profit generation mechanism. And this year was even more apparent to us than any of the other times we've gone.
A lot of our friends weren't there this year, which made it different for us too. A lot of the people that we enjoyed listening to and hanging out with, such as Dean Ryan and Sean Stone and Laura Eisenhower too. In fact, people I enjoy drinking with, they weren't there this year. So there was really no one for us to talk to. I did kind of mingle a little bit and meet some new people. And my media badge got a little bit of attention from people who want to get issues out into the public. And I actually am interested in that. I'm interested in getting important information out. And I did tell people I'm a writer primarily. So if you want someone to write an article about this issue, I'll look into it. So that's good, because I did meet some people who were genuinely trying to get important info out there.
Mm-hmm. And on the bright side, actually, those are very high marks for people like Dean and Sean Stone, is that they have been rejected from these events. And that really is just a confirmation that they're doing good work and that they should continue.
Well, and I don't think they're rejected from events in general, but what happened with Conscious Life is that they're not interested in anything icky. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to face the dark. So that's what I was told, is that they're really just focusing on love and light. But you know what the problem with that is? If you just focus on love and light, and you ignore the shadow, how are you even going to know who your enemy is and what to do about it? And so there was no Dean, no Sean, and it was really boring as a result of not having these hard hitters. And Laura, too, she's always interesting to listen to. And
always interesting to drink with.
Oh, well, they're all interesting to drink with. And so, yeah, the bar was very empty of our friends this year. But that's just the way it goes. We were noticing that the event is going downhill. In fact, all of these expos seem to be going downhill and becoming more and more controlled. That's why we have Contact, Conscious Life, Control.
Yeah.
And in fact, even Contact in the Desert this year is going to be held indoors. Well, if it's indoors, how are we going to see UFOs? We're not. And also, we're going to be under that EMF fence, whereas at Contact in the Desert outdoors, it can't bounce around. So even though there's cell phones everywhere, we're way less affected, being also in the energy of the desert, nature. It's beautiful. But yeah, indoors, I don't know. Yeah. So that's what's going on with these expos, is they're becoming more and more tightly controlled. And it's kind of becoming boring.
Yeah, it's noticeable clamp down and control over the dissemination of information, and a lot of disinformation as a result. So, yeah, just got to keep your discernment up.
There's another issue of the inversion, the parasitic inversion, really showing up at these events now. So you had mentioned the DOR problem in the hotel, and that is a big problem. And it was hot everywhere, because DOR equals heat and OR equals cool moving air. So DOR is stagnation, and heat comes with stagnation.
Yeah.
And it's emitted by people. And as the inversion goes, if you notice something being done wrong and you point it out, because of the inversion, you who pointed it out is going to get chewed out. And I noticed this a few times. I pointed out that one of the rooms needed air conditioning. And Gabe, you heard somebody say that something like, "It's not hot in here," or "I'm just fine."
I'm not hot, or something like.
Maybe you're a reptile and you like it hot.
But it was just, I understand that people have different temperatures, but it was said in a very condescending way.
And it was also over 80.
There's that prefix, con, again.
Yeah, so you'd point something like that out. There was one workshop I particularly enjoyed, though, which was a crystal bowl music, which was very relaxing. Although, unfortunately, in the next room over, there was thumping like techno music. And so that was a little distracting, but it reminded me.
A nice accompaniment to a meditation.
It reminded me, I'm back in LA now, so it's going to sound like this. There was also a guy snoring through the entire workshop. And the funny thing to me is, again, this is the inversion. If I was next to that snorer, I would have gently woken him up and said, hey, wake up. But no one did that. Instead, they put up with the snoring. Now, how does that help anyone to put up with the snoring? And guess what? If I had said something, hey, wake up, if I had said it like that, somebody would have gotten mad at me for it. So instead, we listened to snoring.
And it would have been some snobby, entitled hippie. And yeah, it was no good. But fortunately, the meditation itself went very nicely, and we were able to ignore the snoring for the most part. But that is very disturbing how that happens. How people who do the right thing are chewed out, and people who put up with it are they just go through life on autopilot.
Doesn't it sound a little like life in general? Putting up with taxes, not even questioning it. People say they feed us GMOs, not even saying, hey, why don't I get my own healthy food instead of just buying the first thing I pick up on the shelf. So people are very much in that sort of victim mentality. And we're on such a low level right now. I mean, I know we're coming up, but humanity's been on such a low level that it's almost like the lowest common denominator prevails. And anybody who tries to excel is squashed. That's what socialism will get you. There you go.
That's right.
Collectivism.
And, it all comes back down to discernment, again, is that you have to discern what's right and what's wrong. And if you see something that's wrong, you should do something about it.
I think so. It's not a big deal.
Within reason.
Yeah, if someone's snoring, a gentle wake up.
You have to pick your battles. I understand that, but it's on a case-by-case basis. We go through this life and we see a lot of things, and there are many good things and there are many bad things and everything else in between, and we have to just react the best possible way accordingly.
So anyway, do check out Conscious Life Expo on Yelp if you want a good laugh, and check out Sharon Hecubus's review, because I did kind of let him have it in a way, but I did say some of the good points. Even funnier is the response of the organizer, which just shows you how parasitic these events are becoming. It's not about consciousness anymore. It's about selling. It's about money. Those booths last year cost between $700 for the lowest booths in the most obscure locations to over $2,600 for the best locations. That makes it so much about selling and so much less about information sharing, which is really what we're all here to do, to share knowledge, information, and solutions. And one of the greatest solutions that we ever found was the assumed name certificate. We're not talking too much about it anymore because pretty much everything that we have to say about it has been said. So if you want to know what this means, the ANC or assumed name certificate, please check out our past videos on it. Check out the links we offer with information. There isn't much to talk about, but what we are going to do is give you updates as we learn things. And we do have one new piece of information to offer that I think you'll enjoy. And I know you guys have been asking for a long time for more on the ANC.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions too.
So we are still experimenting with this. And here is the really cool, fun thing that happened to us. We were up in the Bay Area gifting Orgonite, and we were in San Rafael. This was back in January, and we got followed by San Rafael police. The San Rafael police are looking for trouble. We noticed this. They're looking for revenue sources. Mm-hmm. We've seen them harassing people all over town. I saw them harassing someone in a parking lot. I saw them with their lights on in another parking lot at night looking for I don't know what. So Gabriel and I were driving down the road, and a cop started following us. And the cop got on his radio and kept following us. Mm-hmm. And we have private property plates on our car. So that's one of the big things that the assumed name certificate can get you, is you don't have to register your car anymore. We explain all this in our other videos. So we had a private property plate on the car. He radioed in, and
we could see it in the rearview mirror too. Like his at a stop sign, his hand was going to the intercom, mm-hmm. and he was looking up, and he was definitely doing something other than what he normally does.
He was following us. And so I got this weird feeling, but it wasn't really a scared feeling. It was like an anticipation. I wonder what's going to happen. And he was on that radio for, I don't know, 20 seconds or so following us. Mm-hmm. And then he started to fall back, almost at a dead stop. And we kept driving and he fell farther and farther and farther back. It was
as though he wasn't moving and we were.
He disappeared, and then he disappeared out of sight. And it was very affirming, because this is that 180 that Doug had mentioned that happens, is the tables are turned. So normally people driving are trying to avoid cops. This cop was avoiding us as soon as he learned he couldn't pull us over. So now, of course, we don't know what he was talking about there, but he was following us and he was on the radio. And nothing happened. So it's good news for anybody who's driving around with that private property plate that it does work. We've only seen it work. We've never been pulled over yet with it since September. So that's good to know. Of course, you've got to know what you're doing with the ANC.
Yeah, it's anyone's guess what the guy at headquarters told that cop, but it must have been something really, really important to get him to lay off like that. But what we have discovered is that we can use the assumed name certificate for defensive purposes, but offensively, we do not know how to use it, and we do not have the time or the energy to find out how it's done.
Mm-hmm. We tried to, we wanted to sue a government actor, have the business entity sue a government actor that's basically destroyed our lives in our home by constant noise and what I would only call sound frequency attacks. It's been crazy here since the summer. But after speaking with 4 lawyers, because you can't really go to court without a lawyer unless you know how to do that. And I don't know how to do that. The lawyers just simply do not understand it. They don't say we're going to lose, but they say that we might not make enough money to make it worthwhile, nor do they understand the power that you get from the ANC. Unfortunately, lawyers cannot grasp it.
Mm-hmm. Now, in regards to a proposed fee schedule in a court action, we do not know if that can be enforced or not. And again, we're not willing to find out because we've got other work to do.
Yeah, it would be too much time for us because we have to make Orgonite and gift Orgonite and provide all of you guys with Orgonite, unless you want to make your own, which we do teach you how to do on the website. But as we know, Doug had a court case regarding his truck, which was stolen, and it was towed, but that's basically stolen.
Right.
And he had it kind of stall out. The court case never really completed, so he didn't lose, but he didn't win. So he went in without a lawyer. He went in as a living man representing his business entity, and the business is Douglas Joseph Herrick. But that case never completed. And in this case, Sharon Daphne Schloss, my business, was going to sue a government actor in this town, but we couldn't get any lawyers that would really understand it. The only lawyer that would take the case is one you just pay tons of money to outright. In other words, it's really, really difficult. And unless it's something that you can't get around and you have to do something about it with legal action, it's easier not to deal with it. So I think if someone was to put like a 5G or antenna in front of your house and it was on the planting strip, that's technically private property, even though there's an easement for the city. So I think in cases like that, you'd have a lot more leg to stand on. But to deal with like a noise and nuisance issue like we're dealing with, it doesn't matter how egregious it is and how much it's destroying my health. It's going to be very hard to prove.
Mm-hmm. And very time consuming, and things like this can get drawn out over a long period of time. And it's just not something that we feel is worth it.
Not for us, not right now.
Right.
So we're going to move instead, actually, to a quieter place.
Right. One thing we are aware of is the fact that the courtroom itself only deals in dead legal fictions. A living man or woman cannot be in there. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But
well, they have no choice but to be in there, though. That's the problem, and that's the paradox of it all, is who else is going to represent these entities but living men and women? So this is the problem, is I think they want you to consent to being that name. But I will tell you this, in listening to the transcripts of, or the MP3 files of Doug's court case, he explained who he was and what his entity was, and they did eventually understand it. But I don't know how to conduct myself as the representative of an entity, and that's where the lawyer comes in. But the lawyer has to consider themselves to be a dead entity. It's very, very paradoxical, very confusing. And the court is a business, and they can do whatever they want in there. They can operate their business however they want. So you have to understand their rules and play by their rules. I don't know their rules. And I've been using the ANC very, very successfully to defend myself and my registered business. But as far as using it to get compensation for a wrong that's been done, in this case, nuisance, noise, and harassment, and slander, there's been a lot of problems here. I still just don't know how to use it in that way, and the lawyers are just so expensive. It's prohibitive, and it's destroying my energy level. So we're moving on and focusing on what's important.
Picking our battles, and defensively is how we choose to use the assumed name certificate. And if you choose to use it in that way, we highly recommend carrying the assumed name certificate copy with you at all times, preferably laminated, and don't make little ID cards for yourself. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about people making these fake IDs for themselves where they put a picture and a name. First off, there shouldn't be a picture on there at all. You're talking about a registered entity. It doesn't have a face. It doesn't have an appearance in that way. It doesn't look like anything. It's an entity. Second off, if you're carrying around something you made yourself at home, how is anyone going to take that seriously? If you're getting harassed by a government actor or an employee of a government agency, such as a cop, and you show them some little thing you made at home, do you really think the cop's going to take you very seriously? Show them that state-issued document from the Secretary of State of Minnesota. Have it laminated in your car. Yeah, it's big. It's not a nice little card like a driver's license, but it is the ID for that entity, so you got to carry it with you. We recommend that.
It works.
It's worked for us. The most important thing, though, that we have been doing in the last month, beyond Conscious Life Expo and beyond carrying our ANC and not getting pulled over, is that we've been gifting a ton of Orgonite. And we do want to talk about where we've been gifting. California's been having a lot of problems this year. Big trouble. We had at the end of 2017, we had a lot of fires. There were fires in Santa Rosa that were extremely destructive, and fires in Ventura that have all the markings of energetic attacks, energy weapons, weird fires. And there's also been a real drop-off in precipitation in California. And this isn't because the Orgonite isn't working. This is because of a ramped-up attack. And because Gabe and I, as the two main rainmakers in California, have been under such heavy attack with sound frequency for the past many, many months since the summer, our energy is getting more and more drained. And we've had other experiences which have just taken away our energy to where it's very, very hard for us to make rain for an entire state. However, we put our effort into it and put our all into it in the month of January, and we gifted all over the state. We spent a good deal of time away from this noisy house and we went gifting. So we started out in early January in Ventura County to heal the fire damage there.
Yeah. We immediately went to the fire damaged areas because the trauma that those lands hold needs to be transmuted before rains can come through again and start healing. So we went to Ventura County right away, and we spent several days gridding and gifting all around in the different cities there are there. There's Camarillo, there's Ventura proper, there's Oxnard, and there's little subsections here and there. But we did a very thorough gifting.
We gridded. We gridded the entire cities that Gabe mentioned. We took the map. We do not use GPS. We do not recommend using any tracking devices when gifting Orgonite for two reasons. One, you don't want them to know where you are and what you're doing. And two, those devices put out electromagnetic fields that are designed to suppress your consciousness, and you can be frequency attacked through them. They know who you are. They know what phone number is assigned to who, and they know what you're doing if you're carrying it. They know what we do because of our emails and our conversations, and they monitor it. So if you're out gifting and you're using an iPhone and GPS, you will very well get frequency attacked. We used to have phones with us, even off. If they weren't wrapped in foil, we'd get frequency attacked. So we went out there with a map. We got maps from AAA. we rely on maps from AAA for this work, and we have a new technique of highlighting every street we've done. So that way we know what we've done and can keep track of it. And then if we don't finish a city, we can go back later and get the other parts. But on this trip to Ventura County, we did not leave any stone unturned in Ventura, Oxnard, and Camarillo. And it was great. We had a really healing environment to stay in. Eating good food and being in that environment made the gifting a healing process for me as well. So my health problems got better, and releasing the blockage to the weather actually released my own energetic blockages in my body. It was happening at the same time, and I recovered from one of the illnesses that I received from months of sound frequency attacks in the lower chakras. So I feel much better after that. And it was great. We saw great transmutation, beautiful sunsets, and sure enough, a few days later came the torrential rains. Unfortunately, they caused mudslides, which is something that happens here in the winter. But that is a sign that the Orgonite gifting worked. They got 5 inches of rain in 2 days in Ventura County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mudslides are as unfortunate a normalcy in California as the fires, because that's what happens. And especially this past winter, there was so much rain and all this new vegetation sprung up, and that burns off or it dies out during the summer. And then the pyromaniacs come out of the woodwork in September and October, and then you have exactly what we had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mind control and matches are a bad combination. And the other thing is the energy weapons, because one of the other places that we went was later in the month. So January was a huge month for gifting. We went up to Santa Rosa, and it was pretty astonishing to see those neighborhoods up close like that, where entire neighborhoods were burnt to the ground, but not just burnt, but everything was gone. I mean, this was like 9/11. It's the 9/11 weapon.
Mm-hmm. It was reduced to absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm. And what was really weird about it, which I'm sure you guys have been seeing videos about this on YouTube, is that one house would be, in some places, one house would be burnt down and the one next door would be fine. In other places, the whole neighborhood was leveled. But you'd see this strange effect where something was just taken down to the ground and something else was standing. But guess what? Every one of these neighborhoods had next to it that was still standing and was not burnt. Cell towers. Mm-hmm. Every neighborhood that was burnt to the ground and every building that was burnt down had a cell tower right there. So I'm looking at that culprit as a possibility, because we know that something energetic was done, and we know cell towers are energy weapons. So it's looking like that maybe they may be doing more than just manipulating the weather with those. They may be using them in other more destructive ways directly on us.
Right.
So they have to be neutralized.
Now, we went through Santa Rosa on the 101 freeway, and we gifted towers that we could see from the freeway.
That was back in 2016.
Right. But this time we did what we did in Ventura County and just did an in-depth gridding, because the cell towers there were not taken care of. They were all unbusted and needed to be neutralized. So we would see this time and time again where there was this charred landscape, but the cell tower right there, just not even charred, just standing there, fully functional.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot of healing in these places. Santa Rosa is already kind of recovering, and we're seeing, because of all the rain, we're seeing green grass growing back, and the people there, they were actually in pretty good spirits, which was very nice, because in Ventura, it was so close to home. It was so new. It had just happened. There was a lot of sadness in Ventura, and I could see it in the people, and there's really nothing you can say, because you don't know. They don't know about Orgonite, and you can't say, here, have a tower buster. I mean, you can sometimes do that, but all we could do is just give our prayers and do our gridding and hope for the best, because I feel like the people we were encountering in downtown Ventura and Main Street had all been touched in some way by the fires. So gifting fire damaged areas is very important, and the more gifting we do, hopefully the more of these fires we could prevent. We did a bunch of new giftings up in the Bay Area too. In San Francisco, we did a piece of San Francisco. We couldn't do the whole thing. It takes a very long time to drive in that city. It's very congested. We marked it on the map. We kept track of it. And I got a great report from a fellow blogger on Tumblr called Real Occult Media that since our gifting, they had 2 weeks of just blue skies and puffy clouds. And she said that it was just the best skies they'd seen in so long. And that was very nice to see. And we also did Berkeley, which was pretty small. We really intend to do Oakland, so we did a piece of Oakland, as much of it as we could. The reason that we were able to finish Berkeley was because it was so small and there weren't as many towers.
Oakland is very large.
Oakland is quite large. We did a big piece of Oakland, including the downtown, and we gridded downtown Oakland, and we marked it on the map. So we'll be back for more in Oakland for sure. There's a lot of work to be done. But we saw beautiful transmutations while we were doing this, and there was rain while we were up there. And one of the biggest accomplishments was gifting a weather ball on top of a mountain. Weather balls are huge. That's what they call Nexrad. And everyone's scared of Nexrad. Well, I'm not scared. 2 Tower Busters busts it. So what's the big deal?
We left more like 6 or 7 up there on
did.
Mount Tamalpais. There was a big one. And when they place them in such strategic locations, you know it's for weather control and weather control only. So the next morning, after gifting that, we saw a nice little veil of cloud just hanging right above the peak. And that was nice to see.
Yep, that's a confirmation that it's working. It's a transmutation. The cloud that was hanging over the mountain was specifically one of these dark gray, kind of misty, foggy clouds that is a sure sign of Orgonite working. It's an orgone transmutation. We also had some more really excellent evidence that marine layer and fog are both transmutations. That's something that I'm researching for my book, which I'm still working on. It's slow going with all the stuff we've been dealing with. But these are very important things to know. We really haven't understood the weather. People just don't get it. They look at it from a thermodynamic model. And back in the 50s, Wilhelm Reich and people he was working with figured out that you can't even predict weather that way at all. It's all orgonomic. It's all energetic. And so we saw something pretty remarkable in the Central Valley on our way up, which was what looked like marine layer outside of Wasco. And that's about 100 miles east of the ocean. There's no marine layer in that area. There's no ocean there. And there's a mountain range blocking the oceanic moisture. So to see a cloud bank that looked exactly like marine layer in LA, or what they call June gloom, was really affirming, because we've been researching for a while the possibility, which is seeming like it could be now fact, that marine layer is actually an orgone transmutation where the deadly radiation is transmuted, and as a result, at ground level, we see the moisture forming, we see the hydrogen bonding of water molecules forming at ground level. Very exciting stuff. So at the top of Mount Tamalpais, same thing. And after gifting Berkeley and Oakland, at the end of the day, same thing. Over the mountains, over the hills of Oakland, there was that same dark gray, foggy layer. So we're seeing it again and again.
And that just builds up the body of evidence. In every different type of climate, we see the same reaction in the sky. So, yeah, it's just a matter of taking care of these towers one by one by one. And unfortunately, we can't be the only people doing it. We need help.
We really need help, because the last few months we've been so attacked. My health has failed and I've had to take time out. And given the way I eat, which is very healthy, and the way I live my life, I shouldn't be experiencing health problems, but I'm under attack. And so it makes it much harder to get by. And as a result, Gabe and I have not really been able to make rain like we usually do. Now, it's not to say we make rain. We facilitate nature's process. So God makes the rain. I don't make the rain. You got a problem, you take it up with him. But we do our best to help. And we would really appreciate more involvement. And if your involvement is simply giving your prayers, your intentions, and your positive energy to all of the thousands of Orgonite pieces we've put around California, that would mean so much to us, because we can only do so much when we're dealing with these issues. I anticipate in the next month and a half an end to our problems, because we're going to get out of the place we're living and no longer be susceptible to the sound frequency attacks we're getting here. Now, these sound frequency attacks are very loud, rumbling, low machinery, drilling into the earth. It's a terrible sound to listen to, and it hurts my body when I hear it. There's other problems too. Chainsaws, and we're talking, between 7 and 8 in the morning. Leaf blowers between 7 and 8 in the morning. All kinds of heavy machinery. Now, I know that leaf blowers are a problem everywhere, but I'm talking about a combination of many, many machines going at once. The worst of them being the drilling, the relentless water drilling, which seems to have no end. Because of the drought that is over, there's still this hysteria about water, and so they're drilling new wells where we live, and they're doing it very unconsciously, very loud, and very persistent. They aren't getting the job done. It's made me feel pretty sick. I've been unable to make rain like I usually do, so we're asking for some help. Understand that sometimes even the healers need to take time out to be healed. And right now I'm needing to take a little extra time to get over some of these problems. And if you could just give your best energy to what we've done out there and put the thought into it, the intention into it, that the Orgonite will clear the atmosphere and make rain. Well, the atmosphere is already doing great. What we need is the rain. So help us out, and please also, if you can, make and gift Orgonite. We have videos on our site that tell you how. Check this YouTube channel for a video on how to make your own tower busters. It's really not that hard to do, a little messy, but it's really, really fun activity. And I also have a video on how to make the little pyramids on the website. And those things are really nice activities to do and share. The other thing you can make is the obelix. I've got links to that on the website too. But most of all, your own intention. Put down the cell phone, turn it off, and reignite that power of your own third eye, because you have it. You don't need to put up with it being suppressed constantly.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you wouldn't mind, just a quick word here for the complainers and the non-participants. If you don't want to make and gift Orgonite, that is fine. That's your prerogative. We're not telling anyone what to do. However, if you're not going to participate, I will not hear your complaints. I will not get back to you. I will not listen to you.
Well, that is an issue. We do get lots of nice messages of thanks, and we also get some really great messages where people have shared with us their amazing Orgonite results. And I post some of these pictures people send on the Tumblr blog. I got some really cool ones from Oregon recently, from an area near Portland, where we gifted, but we didn't finish the whole area. We did Portland, but this is Gresham. We did part of it. And we have a friend up there now that's made her own Orgonite, and she's transmuting DOR in Gresham, and it's great. It's really helping a lot. So we are getting some very positive feedback.
Yeah, we are.
But
I didn't mean to
no, but
go
it's
off
true.
like that.
I'm being really nice about it, but I get these complaint messages like, oh, it looks like we're in a drought again. Oh, how come you're not making more rain? I guess your Orgonite's not working. We need it to be more than just us doing this. There are so many consciousnesses affecting everything on this planet. We're not living in a vacuum. Gabriel and I, we're pretty strong in how we know how to work with the atmospheric energies, and we've rejected the Wi-Fi and we've rejected the cell phones. We've done what we need to do to open up our etheric abilities. But there needs to be more than us, because if you think about it, with 50 million human consciousnesses in California, if there's only 2 out of 50 million, I mean, I exaggerate, there's probably like 8.
5.
Oh, that's okay. Maybe 5 to 8 out of 50 million who are working in this way etherically. You really can't sustain it forever. It's like when Blue Thunder, Rainbow Thunderheart, went up into Oregon and did energetic work on the coast. It didn't stick because the consciousness of Oregon was too low. And we went back up to the exact same places, and we gifted Orgonite and unleashed the floodgates and ended the drought in California. And he had started this work everywhere. But you see, the Orgonite helps it stick because you've got a constant OR source there. But we need your OR. Mm-hmm. It needs to be more people who are giving their positive energy, thinking more positively about the atmosphere.
That's just as important as what the devices are putting out. Perhaps in a way even more important.
Mm-hmm. So it's very hard for me to read complaints from people who don't make Orgonite, don't gift Orgonite, don't understand how much it costs us to do it, and how much time and money and effort and etheric work and prayer. It's a lot of work. So please help, just a little bit. Make some Orgonite, gift some Orgonite. Just give your good thoughts and intentions, your gratitude towards the sky, because the sky is doing great in California. It just needs rain now. That's the only thing we're missing at this point.
And if you're unwilling to help, no problem. Just do it in silence, please.
I mean, complain in silence.
Yeah.
text your best bud about it. But yeah, I don't want to hear it anymore. But I do want to say thanks to all the people that have been helping. I've gotten a good report from Australia recently. It's exciting that it's going worldwide. And
we've gotten many good reports, and we have many people that are contacting us and donating and helping us with our own orgone gifting efforts. It's been such a blessing. We have nothing but thanks to give to you, and it helps us in so many more ways than just to gift Orgonite, because it's helping our energy and getting it back. We have been under such heavy attack for several months now, and hearing good things from people helps us to get back into the right frame of mind to continue our work.
Yeah.
And that's important too.
Yeah, I really do appreciate the nice words that people have had for us. So, that's just a little note on the complainers. You guys are a small portion of the population, the complainers. And I think that,
Thankfully.
You're good enough people to know that now that you've heard that it's hard for us to work with that you won't complain anymore, because we just want to help you too. So thanks everybody for helping us out with your positive energy. And I know we've spent a good deal of this episode asking for help, but it really is just etheric help we want right now. We just want those good thoughts out there, and keep your eyes to the sky. Keep on looking at those beautiful clouds and making the sky beautiful with your mind. Use your own orgone.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Human Frequency. We will see you next time. Thank you.